Coming up, we take a look at the Chicago Bears offseason.
Plus a recap of the NBA All-Star Game in San Francisco and a look into the upcoming baseball season.
I'm Kirstan Richardson.
And I'm Arianna Spruille.
All this and so much more.
Rambler Sports Locker begins now. After a love-filled weekend, we are this much closer to spring break, meaning even better days are right around the corner.
And by better days, I'm thinking about warmer weather. I'm getting tired of this cold.
I don't know about you, but I'm definitely ready to take a much-needed step away from Chicago winter.
Me too. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves because we still have a lot of games to cover. Beltran is here with the Rambler Rundown.
In a week featuring close wins and losses, the Ramblers put up big performances and are heating up at the right time. Men's volleyball's 11-game winning streak has been snapped by McKendree, who defeated the Ramblers 3-2 in a back-and-forth match on Saturday. After a long road trip, Loyola will have a 3-game homestand highlighted by 14th-ranked Louis next Thursday. The men's basketball team has started their own winning streak as they defeated St. Louis last Friday 78-69 and also took down Davidson on Tuesday 77-69. The Ramblers will look to avenge their close overtime loss to Dayton as they face off with them tonight at 6. In women's basketball, the Ramblers fell short against Duquesne on Saturday 75-70, despite a 41-point fourth quarter, which is believed to be the most in the quarter against a D1 opponent in Loyola history. On Wednesday, the Ramblers lost to UMass 87-62. They're taking a week off before facing VCU next Wednesday. The track and field teams competed in the David Henry Valentine Invitational last weekend, highlighted by James Lawrence being named Atlantic 10 Track Performer of the Week for the men, and Emma Waukee setting a program record in the 3K race for the women with a time of 9 minutes and 14.85 seconds. The Ramblers will compete in the Atlantic 10 Indoor Track and Field Championships in Virginia next Friday. The women's softball team started off strong in the Fonseca Memorial Tournament last weekend, defeating St. John's 2-1 in Game 1, but finished the tournament 1-4 overall. The Ramblers look to find a spark this weekend in the Pirate Invitational at East Carolina University. Coming off their fourth-place performance in the spring opener, women's golf will compete in the Rio Verde Invitational this weekend in Arizona. That's all for this week in Loyola Sports. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Ethan Beltran.
Thanks, Ethan. The Ramblers are looking pretty good these past couple of weeks. Even though the NFL season is over, that doesn't mean that the offseason won't generate any noise. After the Chicago Bears had a frustrating season, now is the time for the team to go back to the drawing board. Brandon Wolak is here with more.
Thanks, Kirstan. As the dust settles on the latest football season, with the Philadelphia Eagles emerging victorious over the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 59, all eyes now turn to the upcoming season. Teams are looking to improve their rosters through free agency and the NFL draft. And one of the most exciting teams to watch will be the Chicago Bears, with a new coaching staff under head coach Ben Johnson and $63 million in cap space, the sixth most in the NFL. The Bears are primed for a significant offseason. The Bears' top priority is improving their offensive line, which struggled heavily last season. Rookie quarterback Caleb Williams was sacked 68 times, the most in the league and the third most all time. A major decision for the Bears will be whether to re-sign guard Tevin Jenkins, their best lineman, though he's been injury-prone. If they choose not to re-sign him, bolstering the O-line with proven veterans like Trey Smith of the Kansas City Chiefs or Kevin Zeitler of the Detroit Lions could provide immediate protection for Williams. Beyond the offensive line, the Bears will need to address wide receiver. Veteran playmaker Keenan Allen will have the option to re-sign with the Bears, return to the Chargers, or head to the Rams. If they can lock him down, his experience would provide a major boost to the receiving corps and give Williams a reliable target as he did last season. In the draft, the Bears are in an interesting position with the 10th overall pick. While they missed out on a higher draft spot and a chance at top edge rusher Abdul Carter from Penn State, they still have options. The most immediate need remains the offensive line. LSU's Will Campbell is the favorite to be selected if the Bears stay at 10th. On the defensive side of the ball, the Bears need another edge rusher and defensive tackle to complete their defensive line. Montez Sweat and Gervon Dexter have strengthened one side, but the Bears could further elevate their defense by trading for Cleveland's Myles Garrett, who has requested a trade. If they don't pursue Garrett, rumors suggest a trade for Dallas's Micah Parsons could also make a significant impact. And though the Bears already have a solid defensive foundation, depth is still a major need after several injuries last season. With plenty of cap space and draft picks, the Bears are in a prime position to make key moves in free agency and the draft. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Brandon Wolak, sending it back to the desk.
Thanks, Brandon. As always, I'm rooting for the Bears' success. Up next, Chongwoo Chang dives into the NHL Four Nations face-off.
Thanks, Arianna. As the National Hockey League enters a 2-week break in lieu of an All-Star game this year, the NHL kicks off the Four Nations face-off. This is a competitive round-robin hockey tournament featuring star players representing the USA, Canada, Sweden, and Finland to come together to compete and determine the best hockey nation. Canada opened up the tournament in an overtime thrower, defeating Sweden 4-3. The USA followed the next day with a dominant 6-1 performance against an injury-riddled Finland roster. Then the USA made a statement, winning against Canada 3-1, despite Canada fans booing during the national anthem in pregame ceremonies. This win secured the USA in the championship game. Meanwhile, Finland stuck around, winning a big game against Sweden 4-3 in a neighborly European rivalry. Sweden rounded out the tournament to finish strong, beating USA 2-1, as USA was missing 4 critical players, including team captain Austin Matthews. Finally, Canada clinched their spot to the championship, beating Finland 5-3. This set the stage for a showdown between the USA and Canada in last night's championship game.
The tournament finished strong in an exciting close matchup, and Canada getting redemption, beating the USA in a 3-2 overtime finish, as Connor McDavid walked it off with the game-winning goal.
I'm Chongwoo Chang from Rambler Sports Locker, sending it back to Kirstan at the desk.
Thanks, Chongwoo. Although I'm not the biggest hockey fan, I will say that the intensity of the face-off was too good to miss. Women's basketball played against Duquesne last Saturday. Here to break it down, the game is Dylann Gretz.
I'm here on the campus of Loyola University, where Loyola's women's basketball just faced Duquesne, unfortunately losing 75-70. But it was quite the game. Here are your highlights.
Even though Loyola took home the loss, this game was historic. This is all due to the fact that in the fourth quarter, Loyola scored 41 points. At the start of the game, it was neck and neck, and by the end of the first quarter, it was 23-19 with Duquesne in a slight lead.
But this was changed because of Megan McConnell,
who had scored the most points for Duquesne during this game at 15. McConnell played a really large role in getting that neck and neck by the first quarter to where they were at the end of the third quarter, which was 53-29. However, like I mentioned before, Loyola did score 41 points in the fourth quarter, and a lot of this had to do with our guard, Naelle Bernard, who transferred from Duquesne. She had a career high this game, scoring 25 points. And this game was obviously very important for Bernard because she was going to be playing against a team that she had recently worked with a couple years ago. So it was great to see how she took this game that meant something to her and really knocked it out of the park with her performance.
While this game was a great watch, because of the historic fourth quarter with that 41 points by the Ramblers, and because of Bernard's amazing performance against her old team, it was still a really tough loss for the Ramblers because this game marked their 7th game in a losing streak, which unfortunately was only added to this past Wednesday against UMass. Stay tuned for next Wednesday when Loyola's women's basketball goes up against VCU. Now here is Rachel Lieberman breaking down the events from the NBA All-Stars weekend. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Dylann Gretz.
It's been a jam-packed time in the NBA world with the San Francisco Bay Area hosting the 74th annual NBA All-Star Weekend. For the first time since the Toronto Raptors celebrated a championship in the summer of 2019, the NBA held an event in the former Oracle Arena. The All-Star schedule kicked off Friday night with the celebrity game in the Golden State Warriors' old stomping grounds. With MLB Hall of Famer Barry Bonds and NFL legend Jerry Rice coaching their individual squads, stakes were high. Rosters featured Matt Barnes, a retired NBA veteran who spent 3 seasons with the Warriors, including their dominant 2016 championship run. Another former NBA player, Baron Davis, made his return, and singer-songwriters Noah Kahan and Shabuzi also took the court. Team Bonds came out on top 66-55, and the MVP was awarded to Emmy Award-winning actor Rome Flynn, who starred in The Bold and Beautiful and How to Get Away with Murder. With a mix of athletic capabilities, the celebrity game was definitely entertaining. The Rising Star Challenge finished out the night, and the challenge featured young NBA athletes as well as those in G League showing off their skills and what's to come in the future of their careers. Team Chris Mullen, or Team C as they call themselves, was awarded the win. Their prize? They had the honor of facing the NBA's best players on Sunday. Viewership always peaks on Saturday night, which featured the Skills Challenge, 3-point contest, and infamous dunk contest. Cleveland Cavaliers stars Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley ran away with the dub in the Skills Challenge, and Miami Heat guard Tyler Hero added a 3-point contest trophy to his case in his first All-Star appearance. Once again, the Orlando Magic's G League star Mac McClung came out on top for the third time in a row. He brought back the iconic Blake Griffin-style dunk over Ikea to top it all off. The All-Star Game took place on Sunday and featured a new format yet again. The league seems to be testing and trying different layouts to replace the East vs. West. Many fans have expressed their loss of interest in All-Star Weekend and the NBA in general, as told by their decreasing ratings. This year's game was formatted as a tournament featuring teams under NBA legends Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith Young Stars team, and Candace Parker's Rising Star team. TNT analysts drafted their teams with the league's biggest stars, with Steph Curry bringing the win and MVP trophy home for Shaq's team OGs. This weekend had much to offer in the NBA world. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Rachel Lieberman.
Thanks, Rachel. The Saturday show definitely was not one to miss.
I agree, Arianna. The dunk contest is my favorite event, so I was excited to watch it.
Baseball season feels right around the corner. Here's Nate Varda with the scoop.
While temperatures are still freezing here in Chicago, they're much warmer down in Arizona and Florida, where Major League Baseball's spring training is kicked off. Here's some of the biggest storylines heading into the season. Starting in Chicago, we have the Cubs, who faced the Dodgers yesterday, and their team has many new faces, including a few All-Stars in outfielder Kyle Tucker and closer Ryan Plecha coming over from the Astros. The Cubbies also added starting pitcher Matthew Boyd and signed third baseman Justin Turner to a $6 million deal just this week. The team did lose fan favorite and former MVP Cody Bellinger, but the Cubs are still in a prime position to win the NL Central for the first time since 2020. Moving to the South Side, there's not much to look forward to after last year's abysmal season. The Sox' biggest acquisition was signing former Cub Mike Tauchman, a move that won't do much for this depleted roster that lost Yoan Moncada and Mike Soroka to free agency. They also traded away their ace, Garrett Crochet, who's wearing red socks instead of white this season. If you're looking ahead for a big turnaround from the White Sox, odds are it's not happening. Moving outside of the Midwest to other big stories in baseball, we'll start with the New York Mets. After making the NLCS last year, the team went out and signed 26-year-old Juan Soto to the largest contract in sports history at 15 years, $765 million. The Mets also had a pitching in the roster in Clay Holmes, A.J. Minter, Frankie Montas, and they brought back All-Star Pete Alonso and their ace last season in Sean Manaea. Moving across town to the team that lost the Soto sweepstakes is the New York Yankees. After losing the World Series in 5 games, they were active this offseason trading for Cody Bellinger from the Cubs and closer Devin Williams from the Brewers. In the free agent market, they were active as well in signing Braves starter Max Fried to an 8-year deal and former MVP Paul Goldschmidt to a 1-year deal. With their laundry list of moves this offseason, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out for the Bronx Bombers. Lastly, of course, you can't talk about the 2025 season without the World Series champion LA Dodgers. Even after winning the World Series, the Dodgers undoubtedly got better. It started with them signing 2-time Cy Young winner Blake Snell to a 5-year deal. Then they won the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes to sign the 23-year-old Japanese pitcher who enters the year as MLB's #1 ranked prospect. Their additions didn't end there, as they added 2 all-star relievers in Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates to finish this absolute juggernaut of a team. With the season kicking off next month, 2025 will undoubtedly be a season to remember, and I can't wait to watch it unfold. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Nate Varda.
Thank you, Nate, for the update of the upcoming baseball season. This week's Ramble will be sure to have you thinking. And with that, I'll be joined by host Oliver Allen and Joe Mangold to talk about the NIL.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Ramble. I'm your host Oliver Allen, and today I'm joined by Joe Mangold and Kirstan Richardson. Now, for many years, one of the hottest topics in sports was regarding the compensation, or lack thereof, of college athletes. Due to NCAA's rules, college athletes were not able to profit from their popularity. In some cases, such as star Texas A&M quarterback Johnny Manziel, This led athletes to leave college earlier than they would have liked to make professional money. However, in July 2021, this all changed when the NCAA voted to allow college athletes to make money off of their name, image, and likeness. Since this ruling, college athlete compensation has ballooned, with some athletes, such as Arch Manning, bringing in more money than they would on a professional salary. In addition to this, controversies have risen regarding the distribution of this compensation across sporting programs among colleges. So I ask you, has NIL compensation gone too far to the point that college athletics are more about money than talent? Or is it simply the free market at work and players are finally able to earn what they're worth? Kirstan, start us off.
You know, when I hear about NIL deals and for college students, it makes me really happy because these college students are getting the money that they deserve. You know, I've seen these college stars rise and be on national television, on video games, on in stores with their jerseys. Like, their names are everywhere. And to know that they're getting paid for their name, their image, their likeness, and their popularity, I think it's important. I think that the compensation, for the most part, is pretty fair for these athletes.
Joe?
I do agree. It is a great thing to see players, get represented and get known for, their name, image, and likeness. But it's just too much money. I mean, you just said it a second ago. Arch Manning's being paid similar amounts to what rookies are being paid in the NFL or what rookies are being paid in other sports. It's like, where is it going to get to a point where it's like, okay, these kids are still student athletes. They're students first. And it also ruins the transfer portal because now instead of students going to other schools for academics or for an actual team, they're going just because they're paid more. Look at Carson Beck. He was ready to go to the draft, fully committed, and then all because Miami said, we'll pay you X amount. He said, okay, I'm not going to declare for the draft anymore. I'm going to go to Miami for another year. I just feel like it ruins some of the integrity.
Definitely. Well, good points brought on both sides. I'm going to go with Joe on this one. I think the point of when you have college athletes staying in college just for the sake of money, it sort of is a little bit, it seems wrong, that they wouldn't want to pursue the next level. So I'm going to ask you, what would you suggest the NIL does in order to sort of remedy this situation?
Honestly, it's a little bit difficult to pull off, but in a way a salary cap or some sort of control. Because if you look at it, let's take the NCAA video game. They paid $600 and a copy of the game to players. I think they should have given a little bit more money, but at the same time, that's somewhat reasonable. Compared to guys, like I said, Carson Beck, or even look at Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, getting paid millions of dollars. I think having some way of saying, hey, there's a limit to how much a player can earn or how much a player is getting paid by certain companies or certain groups, I think that's a good solution.
All right, Kirstan, how do you respond to that? Why is that not the way that the NIL should go?
Look, I get Joe's perspective, and I understand that perspective completely. I feel like adding that salary cap for these college athletes, it kind of puts them on a little difficult slope. When I view the NIL, I view them as a way for these college athletes to kind of get a head start, a little jump start into their professional career and seeing where they go. And, adding that little cap kind of limits them to kind of expand their horizons, do bigger and better sponsorships. State Farm is kind of like that company, that insurance company for a lot of college athletes. And kind of adding that salary cap, you're kind of limiting these athletes to kind of go and branch out into other sponsorships that can carry them into the professional world. So that's kind of my perspective on seeing that cap and kind of how it can disrupt it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great point. I'm going to give this point to Kirstan. I think the point about, that college is sort of where these students should excel and then they go into the next level, and that sort of limiting how much they can do that might put a bit of a damper on their career. So we've got it tied going into the final round. You guys know what that means. We've got a tiebreaker trivia question. All right. So for this one, it is NIL themed. What college athlete is currently making the most from their name, image, and likeness? Pull out your phones and we'll see what you guys have to say. I'm sure you guys the answer to this one isn't anyone a crazy curveball or anything like that. All right, we ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kirstan has Brandon Marshall and Arch Manning. Neither one got it correct. The answer is Shedeur Sanders of Colorado. So For the second straight week, we have a tie on the Ramble. We hadn't had a tie up until now. Now we've got back-to-back. We'll look to break the streak next week. Hopefully we'll have someone come out on top. That does, however, wrap up this episode of the Ramble. Definitely a hot topic, something that's really only going to rise in its relevancy is the topic of NIL. Very interested to see, where it goes in the coming years. Joe, Kirstan, thank you guys for coming on the show, and we'll see you all for next week's episode. Now, let's sign this one off back to our anchors.
Thank you, Oliver, for having me on The Ramble. That's a topic that's going to continue for a long time. So we'll see if and how things change.
What a great ramble. Maybe we're the ones in the wrong profession.
That wraps up this episode of Rambler Sports Locker.
To stay up to date on all things Rambler Sports, be sure to follow us on X, TikTok, and Instagram at Loyola RSL and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
From all of us here at Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Kirstan Richardson.
And I'm Arianna Spruille.
We'll see you next week, and don't forget to turn off the lights.